This post is about trees, specifically old veteran oaks. Outside a place called Pitminster near Taunton. It's blowing a bit, so hopefully this will pick it up. And there's a patch here near Pitminster. In the distance you can see a large hulk of a tree. And there's two old oaks here. And these are both absolutely gorgeous. You can see where the ground level has been higher in the past. And there's all this root growth. You can see the scars of old trunks which have now gone. And these are ancient trees. They look like pollards. And over in the back there, let's see if we can find some lee. There's another pollard. And there's more in this field over here. Right, let's walk back the way we came. I'm actually on a public footpath. If we walk back through here, see more old oaks here. These aren't pollards. These are old maidens. Big old trees. And they're all lovely, lovely things. And you get to here. And then we go over the stile. Just a moment. Bear with me, because I want to show you what's in the next field. Now through here, another probable veteran, maiden. Look at these in here. There's one here, one in behind it. You can't really see. Yep, just about. Here, one over there, and there are more over the end. The thing about trees, it's a common fallacy. People think the roots don't extend beyond the drip line of the canopy. That is false. As a general rule of thumb, support roots don't extend beyond the drip line of the canopy. Feeder roots, the roots that supply the tree with its water and its nutrients, can extend much further. So it's 3 times at least. So if you look at this one here, this is an ancient tree with lots and lots of veteran tree characteristics. And you can see the drip line of the canopy, or you can tell where that is. This tree is also stagheading. Died back, and it's making more growth from further back along the branches. Hopefully you can see that from here. I don't really want to go through the farmer's crop to get closer to get this tree to fill up the view in this GoPro. Now the one on the right here is also stag-headed, only it's gone further, it's died. And the one in behind is again stag-headed. Now the issue, as I see it here, is all these veteran trees, which are part of our heritage, under threat from being in an arable field. If I'm correct, and the feeder roots extend to at least 3 times the drip line of the canopy, and you can see on this tree here, the canopy has recent times been much bigger, is ploughing, cutting through the feeder roots each time ploughing actually happens. And you can see here all these trees, the ploughing goes right up to the base of the trunk. So where do you draw your compromise between raising food, in this case oilseed rape, and preserving our common heritage. I think in this example here, the balance has gone too far towards raising food. Now I don't know who owns this land, I don't know who farms it, whether they're the same or whether they're different, I don't really know. And I hesitate to say that someone shouldn't make their livelihood from a patch of land which they may have inherited and they may have bought, which just happens to have ancient trees on it. But should this practice actually be, is this practice actually the best practice to ensure the continued survival of these trees? From what I can see here, I would say no. The question is going to be, have these trees come to the end of their life naturally, or has ploughing practice and cropping practice changed recently, and say a slightly bigger, slightly deeper digging plough been brought in recently, which has brought about changes in these trees? I don't know the answers, but I think is a question that should be asked, because surely in the 21st century there is a balance to be made between cropping land for agriculture and preserving our heritage. Let's walk down here, see if we can get a bit closer to this tree without trampling the crop. Aren't they lovely? You can see where they've been cut. You can see the cuts have been made on the top of some of these branches on this one. They've been cut at the top of the trunk on the bolling many times, but not for a long time. Let's turn around. Look at this tree. This is a maiden tree, not a pollard, never been cut. See the difference in shape? Whereas these ones, and that one in there, and that one in the far distance, have all got this shock of branches, similar-ish size, coming from the top of the trunk. Oop, slightly wandered into the crop there. And see how this one is hollow? Now it may well be that in years gone by this was parkland to that big old house you can just see in the distance. So has the farming practice changed relatively recently? Should there be incentives from the public purse to get it to change back, to preserve these? Do these trees actually matter? Thank you for listening and watching to this point. There's another view of those two trees, and this tree here, which I think is a pollard. And if we look on here, we can see very recent tree surgery. This branch comes out to the right, looks recent, with a shock of growth. Down in here, this is where the cut branches have ended up. Probably. I don't know for certain, but is the owner come farmer here cutting back the spreading canopy of this tree in order to get better access for machinery to increase his cropped area and reduce the nuisance that this tree probably causes in sowing and tilling his crop and harvesting? Set against the heritage value and the wildlife value of these ancient trees, is this justified? This is another arable field with trees in it. These look like they're in a line. There's maybe a bit of a beat on the hedgerow. Sorry about the wind again. You can see that the cultivation is right up to the base of the trees. The one in the centre is stagheaded. I'll talk a bit about stagheaded in a moment. acorns, the roots. But on an arable field like this, cultivation and also the compaction, if there is any, goes right up to the roots. Why is that different? I don't know. It's a question that needs to be asked. Let's get out of this wind and talk about stagheading. So, canopy stagheading. Let's take this tree as a willing victim. If a tree is happy and growing well and is not diseased or anything, especially oaks grown in the open, tend to produce a nice domed canopy. And you can see here that the canopy's died back. Got all these tall branches sticking out of the top. Ends of them have rotted and dropped off, and underneath just got the leaves coming out, forming another dome below. That's what we call retrenchment growth. If we go a little bit closer and look up inside it, you can see that it's grown in the last few years. It tends to be fairly straight, whereas the older stuff is very crooked. And also up in there we can see a lot of dead wood further down, where bark has died back. And this tree is full of what we call veteran characteristics. So dead bits, a rot, and holes, and yet it's retrenched itself and is turning back into a healthy tree. So stagheading is a natural process in response to stress, and oaks tend to do it as they get old. And this is quite an old tree, open grown. There are a lot of similar ones in the hedgerows around it, and some of these others are also stagheaded. If stagheading continues too far, i.e. the stress continues and the tree continues to make efforts to regrow from further down under its canopy, or some other factor like the ivy takes over and then shades out the regrowing canopy, the tree will inevitably die. And there's another old oak in an arable field, and you get the picture here. Just about see the remains of pumpkins. He's had pumpkins grown in it last year for the Halloween market, and you can see that there's been tree surgery on overhanging branches, done in several bits. There's one here that's quite old, one here which is very fresh, and you see this tree is stagheaded to a huge degree, and the ploughing and cultivating right up to the base of it has taken down the ground level. So this tree is very much in trouble, and it may well be that if this continues, this tree will die, and it can be got out of the way so its shade is then no more of an issue to arable cultivation.